In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble a cheap Amazon exposure unit lamp. We're going to expose those screens, and for the print pros out there that are doing it at an apartment where you may not have access to a water hose, we're going to rinse our screens out at a car wash. Let's go. Welcome back, print pros. I'm going to show you how to expose screens with a fairly inexpensive exposure unit kit that I got here. Here is the kit. I just opened it to take a look, make sure everything was there. We'll go over how to assemble this. One of the main pieces, this is not part of the kit. However, I bought a piece of foam because our screen is going to go on top of this, then our piece of film, and I bought a picture frame with a piece of glass, which is sitting aside. But the first thing I'm going to do is trim this up because it is a little wider than I need it to be. So I'm just going to take a razor blade and use this piece of film, this old piece of film here, to cut this piece of foam down, so that way we can use it for exposing screens, and I'll show you how all this stuff works. But I'm gonna get after cutting this. Now that we have this all trimmed down, we'll go ahead and set it aside, and we'll work on assembling this kit. Here are the instructions, pretty straightforward. So we'll use these as a guide. So it looks like we've got a couple elbows here, a couple T's. Put these T fittings at the end. And we've got these elbows that will go up at the top, so we can hang our light from it. And then we have these smaller pieces, which are the legs. So there we go, pretty simple setup. Here is the exposure light. Looking at the directions, it does say that you need to expose your screen for 10 to 12 minutes, depending on your emulsion. We'll shoot for 12 minutes because we are using a slower exposing diazo emulsion. Here's our LED exposure lamp. We've got a couple hooks here. So we'll take these hooks, and there's this little bracket that we can swing back. I honestly think we'll just set this thing up like this. Imagine these straps are to get this cable out of the way. At least that's what we're going to use it for. Looks like there's about a total of 4 of these little straps. So they give you plenty. Probably won't use all 4. Then all we would do is plug this into your standard 110 outlet. And we've got a little switch to turn it on and off. We can use a timer on our phone. One of the things we're going to use is an exposure calculator that will let me know when I expose the screens if the time that was on the sheet, the instruction sheet, and their recommendations, whether they're close or not. And what this is it basically has a step of different densities on this particular piece of film. We're shooting for 7 for it to be able to hold everything to wash out. I have a link down in the description for this exposure calculator, and they work great. I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of my screens. Start with our 195 here. And we'll take the glass from our picture frame, which you have to open up, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Here's our picture frame with real glass in it. I'll leave a link down in the description to where I got this. Just got it off of Amazon. We have our piece of glass pulled from our picture frame, and you want to be very careful when working with glass because these edges can be sharp. Cut your fingers, and you do not want to poke the corner of this glass into your screen because it will poke a hole in it. Let's move this out the way. I cleaned the glass the best I could. I probably should have had my foam lined up starting out with, but that's all right. We can just pick this up. We'll move this down. We'll set our foam underneath the screen. So what that is going to do is allow Move this a little bit, make sure we're still in focus here. Looks like we've got everything in frame for the most part. But what the foam is going to do is allow us to put our film down in our glass to really make good positive contact onto the emulsion. Positive contact meaning that there's not any part of the film that's not directly touching the emulsion. We want that piece of film in direct contact with this emulsion. So I'm going to take my white base piece of film, we'll lay that down, and I'm just going to center it with my eyeball onto this frame. We can always adjust our palette and the position of this particular screen printing frame once we go to register it. But do try and center it up the best you can. We've got about 2 fingers up here, 2 fingers here, about 3 fingers there. We could probably slide this way a little bit. We'll move this up here, so that way it's directly over our image. We'll take our piece of glass, we'll set this over our image, just like so. And this piece of glass is 13 by 19. The weight of this glass will make sure that this piece of film does have nice positive contact. We've got a timer set for 12 minutes. We'll hit start and we'll let that go ahead and expose. Our timer just went off. We'll go ahead and turn it off. We'll set up another screen, expose the rest, which we have 3 more screens, and then we'll take them and wash them out. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but you can see the image clearly exposed in there before we've even rinsed it out. I can clearly see it with my eyes, the difference in color. Pretty exciting. Now that we have our screens exposed, let's take them to the car wash and rinse them out. Let's go. Alright, we've got our screens over here. I just have it on rinse mode. I'm just going to apply water both sides. And we'll turn these things around so we can wet the other side. You can already see the image in these screens. It's windy today. And really, the emulsion is just kind of falling right out of these. Really not having to hit them too hard. So this one's nice and ready to go. Here is one of our screens. They're already pretty much dry, and it's probably been less than an hour. There's the other screens over there. And you can see here with our exposure calculator that we do have about a 7. So that time on the instructions was pretty good. Hopefully you can make that out on camera. But it held a 7. 7 was starting to wash out. However, this thing rinsed out quite nicely. You can see my hand through the screen here. And it rinsed out great. One of the downsides with using a piece of glass in this type of way of exposing screens is the glass does block a hard line around the screen, which isn't a big issue because we're going to end up putting screen tape on the screen anyways, and we can just cover that up. So this is a very affordable solution for getting into screen printing t-shirts on a budget. So even if you don't have the biggest of budget, you can screen print t-shirts on the side as a side hustle, or even start up a t-shirt business with fairly little money. In the next lessons, we'll do a deep dive into screen printing from squeegee angles to squeegee pressure. We'll turn you into a print pro. We'll see you there.